breaking news here on the Dallas Cowboys report. They have their defensive coordinator. It is indeed Mike Zimmer, the former Vikings head coach, who makes his return back to Dallas after spending several years away with other jobs, taking 2 years off from the NFL, now going back to Dallas to reunite with the Joneses and with his old opponent in the head coaching ranks, Mike McCarthy, who, of course, those two know each other quite well from their time together in Minnesota and Green Bay, respectively. I will make notes. There will not be a push, I don't believe, for this video. Too much content going out here on the channel the past couple of days, so there will not be a push. If you would be so kind as to share today's video, even though there's no fancy graphics, that would actually be super duper helpful. Again, the news here, Mike Zimmer taking over as the new Cowboys defensive coordinator. I am of the belief, emphasize belief here, that Zimmer is taking over and the Joneses won out on their preferred hire. When I sent out the tweets almost a month ago saying the Joneses know someone to fix the defense with the photo of Mike Zimmer, was serious. There's some jokey elements in there, sure, but this is a guy I think the Joneses had their eyes on here for a while. And of the known interview candidates list, when you interviewed Adam Downey, who I think will stay as the D-line coach, we'll see about that front. When you interviewed Marquand Manuel, the Jets assistant, when you interview Ron Rivera and Rex Ryan, etc. I think going with Zimmer was the best of your options. That is the best choice you could have made of those 5 candidates. It's not, I don't know if it's upgrade for Dan Quinn. It might not be. There are elements to like about the Zimmer hire. That we'll get into here in a little bit. But of the experienced group, Zimmer, by a pretty good margin, has had the better recent results. Downey has no DC experience. Manuel been fired by Dan Quinn, actually, in Atlanta. Ron Rivera's team had one good defense a couple years ago in Washington, kind of petered out beyond that. Rex Ryan hasn't coached in 8 years, and then it kind of leaves Zim as the feasible option here. And statistically speaking, he had great results as he still called the plays, was still the main guy as the Vikings head coach. They were 4th in total EPA per play in his years as the Vikings head coach. It's a great defense. They were 4th in pass EPA per play. Not as good on the run side. That's okay. Frankly, your pass defense fell apart down the stretch this season, which is not something you wanted to see happen. So I've got more on this here, but grade the hire of Mike Zimmer for me. A, B, C, D, or F. It's the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Some pros. Number 1, there are relationships here, which, fair or not, you have to do to make it as a Cowboys coach with the way the politics work. You know Mike McCarthy very well. You know Jerry Jones. You know Stephen Jones. You have that built-in relationships with both of those guys, and you're probably going to take over a job that was not that coveted. It's a 1-year prove-it deal, basically, for all these guys, and you're going to retain most of the previous defensive staff. So you got to go to build those relationships quickly. As we mentioned, Zimmer's track record is better than Rex Ryan. It is better than Ron Rivera. His defenses consistently were better year in and year out. Let's run through in just points where they ranked. Ended badly in Minnesota. We'll get back to that. 24th and 29th. Other years as head coach, as the lead head coach or DC, where they ranked in points allowed. Ready for this? 5th, 9th, 1st, 6th, 5th, 11th, 5th, 8th. 9th, 24th, 6th, 19, 29 is lone year in Atlanta, 2012, 27, 2, 13, 20, and 22. The man's got more top 10 finishes as a defensive head, as a head coach or DC, than like Rex Ryan has combined. And I think Rivera has combined as well for the most part. Like, this is, from a resume perspective of a defensive coordinator, better than the other options. As my guy Cowboys Stats and Graphics has pointed out, they've had really good success as well with the overall results against the Kyle Shanahan tree. That feels important to remember here. That the results against Shanahan, what you have had troubles with, what Dan Quinn has had troubles with, is a big factor. And these last 2 points I'll make here can kind of be both positives and negatives, change and being a bit of a hard you-know-what. We will come back to those. I think there are elements that I kind of want to save for the pros and cons side here, the cons side of it. But it could help determine if this ends up being successful or not so successful. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. You can go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. I'll make sure that link and the promo code get put in the comments section and the description of today's show. Kind of your last chance to do some NFL prize picks this year. The Super Bowl is available. Obviously, we have no fancy graphics on today's show to show you my picks, but I do know I've got the half freebie passing yard from Patrick Mahomes, more than Christian McCaffrey yards on the ground, and more than Travis Kelce catches. Love that slate there. You can do NBA, college basketball as well. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Over to the cons. We mentioned the end of the tenure with Mike Zimmer in Minnesota. Did not go well. Got the numbers somewhere here. Where did I put them? Last couple years for Zim. Oh, here they are. 23rd in EPA per play in his final 2 years. 14th in pass EPA per play. 31st in rush EPA per play. It's not great. Again, EPA per play is expected points added. Really good health of the offense. Like yardage and points can be distorted sometimes by how the offense performs. EPA per play a little bit more independent of that metric, which is valuable. Not great result on the stretch. The talent wasn't as good either. That seems significant to always remember in these conversations. Zimmer is also an older coach. This was the most boomer hire in coaching history or DC history, which they got some young guys in at the end. But again, I think Zimmer was the best fit of the 5 guys he interviewed, but he's not a young up-and-coming coach. Not that you're going to get many of those anyway. More cons to come. But what is your one-word reaction to the hiring of Mike Zimmer? Good, bad, solid, indifferent, expected? Sound off for me in the comments right now. Other negatives here on the Zimmer side. I am curious how he has adapted to the new NFL. Things have changed. It's very different than what it was even 2 years ago. The meta of the offenses have changed so much. All the rules have changed. Hopefully the interview process went well. My suspicion here, by the way, obviously DallasCowboys.com says, this might extend into next week. And then within like 24 hours, they make their hire. I think that maybe they were trying to make it, really clear. We're doing a wide-ranging search. Kind of get the vibe that Zimmer was their guy from the beginning to a certain extent. And that's the route they chose to go, which is fine. Of the 5 guys, you never thought it was the best one. Is Mike Zimmer, though, who you wanted as defensive coordinator? Y for yes, N for no. You know how comments work. Go vote right now for me in the comments section. The part I want to end on here, what can make or break, I think, this hire specifically for the defense is twofold. Number one, let's be blunt, Mike Zimmer can be a bit of a hard ass. He will, it's an acquired taste, as Harrison Smith said. We had the great clip from Darren Woodson, about that on the channel as a short, as part of our interview. Makes so much sense. Zimmer can be a hard ass. To be honest, maybe you need some of that. Maybe some of your players need that kick in the ass a little bit. Now, it might not work. It might end up kind of falling apart. And when things are good, you can live with the hard ass coach. When things are not so good and you're struggling and you're losing games, then the players can turn on you, and it might not be a long-term, relationship necessarily. But I do think that the hard-ass approach can get more out of some of your guys who haven't really had that. Dan Quinn was beloved by the staff or by these players. That's fine. It's not a bad thing. Neither is being pushed and being challenged in a positive way. And I'm hopeful that Zimmer can do that. Or he's a little bit too old and doesn't have the same touch he used to, and it just comes off as, the players never like him and it's a disaster. It's a real possibility. The first one happens, we're in good shape. Also, the other note here is that change can help or it can hurt. Your defense was really bad down the stretch. There's no way around it, and you've consistently struggled against the good competition. We've shown that graphic a bunch of times. I'm not going to rehash it again. But you are averaging or allowing damn near 30 points per game against top 15 offenses. That's terrible. That's awful. Offense gets some blame, absolutely. but you can't win games like that. It's just not possible. It could also get worse. It could. Dan Quinn was a good defensive coordinator. Might not have been good enough for this team. Real chance Mike Zimmer's worse. You've got to sort through that and acknowledge it as a possibility. So it's better than Rex Ryan. It's better than Ron Rivera. Of the 5, it's the guy I would have hired. But I am still anxious of, is it really going to work? We'll find out. We'll find out and see what changes get made to the defense here in the coming days and weeks and months, etc. We will have you covered. Hit that sub button right now for more free Dallas Cowboys YouTube videos. And share it if you made it all the way through, because there will not be a push, and that stinks.